Please post your wins in the chat roll. I am so excited to have Jamie. She's one of my favoriteest people ever. But let's go right over to the wins. Let's start with Mary Cotter. Mary, what's your wins for the past 7 days?
Yeah, so my husband and I just celebrated 2 years of being married. So we went away for 3 days to the place where we got married and spent an adventure around there. So it was really nice weekend. So just kind of getting back into the swing of things after that. So that's fun.
Congratulations on 2 years. That's a big statement. Congratulations. Super excited about that. Let's go to Chris, the idea guy, Mr. Baden. What's up, Chris?
What's going on, digital geniuses? Happy Wednesday. If your week hasn't started off the way that you want, it's okay. You're in the right place. It's about to turn around and get better, because tonight here on Train or Die, hanging out with some great people. Some wins for me, as you guys know, I'm visiting my parents in Montana, and I get to look out at, is it going to focus? It's not going to. It's a mystery. You guys don't know what's out there. But yeah, just hanging out at the lake, and I love water and lake and lamp. And so it's fun hanging out here. Tonight's going to be a fun night. Some wins in the chat. Francis is sharing, my win is being chosen for the Digital Genius of the Week. Sean, can you talk about Digital Genius of the Week for a second, so for everyone listening?
Absolutely. But before I do that, I want to hear what Jamie Cross's wins are for the last 7 days, because that's important. Jamie, what's your biggest win? And welcome.
Wow. We are launching a new business model, and we have a huge part of our compensation plan built out already.
Yeah, that's amazing. As you guys know, compensation models are always a challenge to go through and do it right. All right, what is the Genius of the Week? The Genius of the Week is somebody who is selected for being the top-notch person in the community, and they get to come out on Friday with me and Chris. We get to grill them. We throw them through the question gauntlet. Super fun, and just get to know them. And then, of course, answer all of your guys' questions about anything business-related on Friday. That's live. It goes live at 3 p.m. Pacific. Don't forget about that, so just so you know. And let's see. Chris, let's go back to you. What other wins? Is there any other wins in the chat roll? What's going down?
Ann Malone, more commonly known as Mama Malone, 2 new ads up, and she says, static to set all our own vegetables in the garden. So she's, starting to set up all our vegetables in the garden. Mama Malone, like every vegetable, we talking tomatoes, what are we talking here? But that's awesome. Mama Malone basically does everything, gardening, Tai Chi, and all before about 10 a.m. every day. So everything. Of course, I wouldn't expect any different. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. You know, I'm always a huge fan of you, Mom Malone. Those are some wins going on, Sean.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to come and do something so fantastic, so different, and it's going to blow Jamie Cross's mind because she's here, and we got to do that, right? We have something so special. Jamie, I would like you to rate Chris Baden's beard on a scale of 1 to 8, 8 being ridiculously amazing.
Okay, well, you know, I'm kind of a beard snob since I make a beard oil, but I would have to say that's an 8 on a scale of 1 to 8.
On a scale of 8. Well, there was one thing that Sean and I were discussing, because we happened to notice that you had beard oil, and in all its glory, it's not officially certified manly. And you guys haven't heard, you're going to hear more of Jamie Cross's story, but we thought one way to kick this off, I've never used beard oil in my life. And as I was learning more about Jamie, I was like, this is a huge mistake. Not only can I get beard oil and have a better beard and more fulfilling life, but I can also be certified manly. So we were hoping, Sean, you looks like you're about to say something.
No, I was hoping, I think you were just about to say it, I want Jamie to hand walk you through how to apply beard oil properly so you can be certified manly. Jamie, you up for that?
Oh, yes. So the thing about man face, it's definitely a new opportunity as it covers the gamut. So it's a pre-shave, an aftershave, and a beard emollient, and a face moisturizer for men. So for those of you that don't shave, basically all you want to do, it's better when your beard is wet. So after you've washed it with the man soap, you want to apply one little shot of the beard oil. Your hands, just get it into your skin, your neck, up on your cheeks.
Okay. So, and then I just go like this.
Yep. And then as you're doing that, breathe in, experience the essential oils, the immersive.
It smells so sophisticated and powerful. It's like Shakespeare and boat fuel. Okay, and then so it's on my hands.
And then get it in here and like in your face and your skin and like your neck.
Is everyone enjoying this as much as I am? We've never done beard oil on Train or Die before.
For the ladies that have whiskers, it helps with that too.
Whiskers. This is good. This is good. It's a little fluffy now. Okay, so I just apply it in here. I'm experiencing the oil.
Yeah.
And it feels smooth, and I also
What is that smell? Is that nobility and a rugged campfire?
I think I could get used to being certified manly. It's working so far. It seems to be. I don't know what's supposed to happen, but
It has smooch factor. Good job. That was a great commercial.
That is fantastic. So exciting. And Jamie Cross is here for episode number 153 of Train or Die. I'm super pumped. And I'm really sad that I didn't record you doing the beard oil on the actual my computer. So that's sad, Chris. Dang it. Anyway, it's all good because that was epic. Guys, what did you think of Chris's beard now? Rate him on a 1 to 8. I think he's got to be like an 8+ now, right, Jamie?
can you see the sheen?
Yes.
Oh, he went to 10.
Yeah.
Mary gave you a 9.8. Let's go to Cassie. She just jumped on the panel. Cassie, what's your biggest win from the last 7 days?
I have been way more consistent in my business than ever before. Like I just always struggled with that. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I didn't find my why until recently, like my true why. So I'm really excited about that.
I'm excited that you're here because Jamie has one heck of a story. She told it live on the funnel hacking stage this year in February, which was amazing. It was this year, right? Yeah, it was this year. I don't know. You're always on stage everywhere, so that's how it goes. But no, it's super exciting, and we're going to have her kick it off here in just a minute. But I wanted to share a super secret with all of the digital geniuses. I'm going to do a quick share screen. You guys all know our training lab. This is the back office. This is how it looks. If you guys clicked on the training lab right here, you can see this is where all of our training is. But guess what happened? As of today, we now have Instagram Secrets. Instagram Secrets is in the house for you to win, and check it out. What we've done, there is 18 modules in there. They're all about 2 to 10 minutes, I think, long, or 2 to 5 minutes long. And Zach Benson himself. Now, let me talk about Zach Benson for just 1 second. Zach Benson created a company called Assistagram. He has a list himself of over 150 million people. He was known. He was actually referred to us from John Parks to the Inner Circle, and we made an agreement to do an integrated marketing play for all the digital geniuses. It is there for you to use. If you want to go master Instagram, go do it now. Chris, feedback, thoughts?
Yeah, there's just a couple fun little facts about Mr. Zachy Poo, and he's also been on TED Talk. He's traveled the world, not just as Zach himself, but as a breakdancer extraordinaire. And so that he's got a little b-boy in his background, and you should go check it out because he's pro. He's really good. So a guy of many talents.
Yeah, Cassie, I saw you doing a little fist pump there. What's your thoughts?
I'm very excited for that training. I did see it earlier because I was going through like old trainings and stuff. But I'm very excited about it. I've only watched like the first introductory thing or whatever. But I'm excited because Instagram is like my new favorite thing ever.
Awesome.
It's so easy, and I didn't realize like the impact that it can actually have on my business.
That's it. Mary Cotter, talk about Instagram for just 1 second.
Yeah, Instagram for sure is like my main focus right now as well. So anyone who's not on Instagram should be, because at least my ads, like that's where my ads are booming. So definitely everyone needs to get on it if you have not yet.
Awesome. All right, and it's going to bring us now to the main event, and I'm super, super excited. You guys already know that she's on the panel with us here, but Jamie Cross is with us tonight. I met Jamie through the Inner Circle family that we have through ClickFunnels, and boy, oh boy, did she blow me away the first time I met her. She was in a banking career previously, and she wanted to be home with, I believe, her newborn son. I think that was did I get that right, Jamie? That's right, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So she wanted to come home and be with her newborn son because she wanted to be there for them. But then also she's a business builder, like a massive Mac Daddy business builder, and she wanted to do it from home. And she asked the higher power, who gave an answer, which was fantastic. And I can't wait to hear her story and from her lips, because I probably butchered it already. But she's here with us. She's built out an amazing company called MIG, Mighty in Good, and she's also now started this other company called The Her Effect. And I believe you're blending them together. But the thing is, she's here to show you guys that it's possible. She has struggled. She's gone through all the ups and all the downs you could possibly imagine. Her story is fantastic. And Jamie, welcome to the show. And again, thank you so much for being here. If you could, just come out and let us have it.
Oh, thank you, Sean. It's so great to be here with all you guys. So, yes, I have now been in business for almost 9 years, and just as you said, I was a corporate banker and hustling hard, saleswoman. You know, I'd come out of mortgage before that, and before that I was a telemarketer, and I've been in all kinds of multi-level marketing companies, and so I love to sell, and came home to be with our first son, and about 2 years into full-time motherhood, I was struggling like so many mothers do. You know, I knew that I was satisfied as a mother, but I also knew that there was more. And there was a stirring in me where I wanted to figure out, like, what am I here for? There was like this pull and this pain in my, like, in the deepest parts of my soul. Like, what am I on this earth for? I know it can't stop at motherhood. It can't stop at being a wife. I want to figure out what this thing is. And I'd given up a huge salary as a banker, and so we were also in this financial, my husband was teaching full-time, he was part-time coaching, and we still weren't making ends meet. Like, we would have the utility companies calling us. I remember being pregnant even, and one day specifically, the utility company called, they were about to shut our utilities off. I had to drive down south and, like, go to this organization and ask them to pay our utility. I mean, it was horrible. Just the feelings of, like, I know we can do better, and I know that I'm actually here on this earth to make a difference, and I can't even pay my bills right now. So, about 5 months postpartum, I was struggling with depression, struggling with what's my purpose, and at that point, I just cried out to God and asked Him for $1 billion idea so I could change the world and leave a legacy for my family. And I went to church that Sunday morning, nursing my newborn, and our pastor just stops the sermon and comes to the edge of the stage, and he said, this has never happened to me before, but God just spoke to my heart and said that there's a stay-at-home mom here who He wants to give $1 billion idea to, so get ready for it. And at that point, I was just, like, ready to jump out of my chair, screaming, like, it's me! God, whatever you give me, I'll be faithful with it. And I had a dream not too long after that. So the dream was so clear. To this day, almost 9 years later, I can close my eyes and see every detail of that dream. I saw the name of the company, MIG, coming up out of these oils, and I had all these vats and botanical oils and flowers, and I was pouring these vats, and the whole thing was like a magical blueprint. So I woke up, told my husband, I'm going to start a skincare company, and didn't have any background in chemistry or any of that, and went out that day and found every book I could find on Ayurvedic medicine and naturopathic healing, chemistry, which was a subject I actually failed in high school, essential oils, and herbal alchemy, and so started studying on my own for a year. And this is, you know, so many people think that starting a business is like you get an idea and you should be making $1 million 3 months later, and I literally didn't know. All I had was, what's my first step? I need to learn how to do this. Okay, so I studied for a year. Once I studied, I had to formulate a product. Once I created my product, I didn't have money for a website. I didn't have any money for packaging, so I had to, like, sell my product. So I literally would call my mom. I had 2 babies at that point. Mom, can you load up the babies, drive me around? So she would drive up and down the streets of Denver and Colorado Springs 8 hours a day, 4 or 5 days a week, with the kids in the back, while I would walk these streets, walking into stores, asking for owners, asking for buyers, peddling my soaps at $2 a bar, which they're now at retail $25 on her website. So that was the start of it. It was like I needed to prove that what I had was special, and so that's something that's really key. I mean, soap, skincare is a very sad market. I went from wholesale retail to then jumping into farmers markets where there's 3 other companies there with the same products and the same pitch and the same price point. So I had to get really aggressive in my understanding the marketplace. 4 years of farmers markets was basically like hardcore R&D, waking up at 4 a.m., driving to Denver, setting up my table. Sometimes it was raining out and nobody would come, and I would sell 0. And I would have to load my stuff back up and drive back home an hour to my family who was waiting for me to like come back with some money, and I had nothing sometimes. And it was just like, or people would come to my table and be like, I hate this product. And so I literally was like, what do people want? And how can I give it to them? How can I solve their problems? And so I went back to the drawing board with my formulations for thousands and thousands of hours. It's really dark in here. Yeah, that's better. Thousands and thousands of hours of reformulating until I had 95% of people coming back saying, my eczema went away, my psoriasis went away, my acne went away, I slept through the night, I got off my medication, my pain went away. And at that point, it was like I was beginning to craft my pitch and pulling people into my table, and stuff like Certified Manly and Smooch Factor started coming like out of my brand. And I started going from selling product to creating personifying the company and building a real brand, to the point where like people would come all the way from out of other towns just to come and buy my table out. So it was like the first 6.5 years was just hardcore. What am I doing? I'm trying to figure this whole thing out. Becoming an entrepreneur, a lot of times people think that building a business is this outside thing, like I'm going to go and build a company out there. But ultimately what we're doing is we're becoming, in the process, we're becoming that person that can handle the thing that we're building so that we can literally change the world. And so if I had then 8 years later, or 8 years ago, what I have now, I would have lost it all. Like over and over again, I would have lost my company and failed and made way more mistakes. So everything is, when I talk about vision, it's like an upside down triangle. Like you start with that small little thing and you be faithful with that one thing, learning, selling, marketing, separating yourself in the marketplace. Be faithful with that. And then as you do that, your vision will expand. So I've talked enough. I don't know. Do you have questions?
Oh, yeah. We can go all night. I got millions of them for you. So most definitely. But I want to turn it over to the ladies on the panel here. Cassie, Mary, if you guys have any questions. Otherwise, I'll throw one out what you two are thinking of one. You just mentioned becoming the person you needed to be to build the thing that you're working on. Can you just go into a little bit more detail about what that actually takes?
Yeah. So I'll kind of, like, the next chapter of my story might make me cry a little bit, actually, just because every time I tell the story, I'm like, it's still so raw for me. So, we were, like, doing the farmer's market thing and breaking even in our business, and my husband was teaching, and by this time it was like we had 3 children, and it came to a point where it was like, okay, it's time to grow again and really go big with this thing. I've figured out my market. I've done all the things. And I remember finding Russell Brunson in funnels. And so going to Funnel Hacking Live after I just had a baby who was like, we thought we were going to lose him. He was in the hospital for almost a month when he was born, and being like, I am going to figure this thing out because I'm tired of living in mediocrity. Like, I was so hungry to become, the person that I envisioned myself becoming. But we scaled for, basically, long story short, there's a whole long story, but found funnels, figured that whole thing out in a matter of about 3 months, sat down and finally did like my 100th video with my pitch. And we started converting. My husband quit his job. We gave up all of our contracts at the markets, and it was like we burned all of our ships at the harbor, and we were saying it's funnels or nothing. And after 3 months, like, we had a deadline to hit. We were going to run out of all of our money by October, and it was September 10th. And I remember waking up, and we had $1,000 that we had done that day after doing 0 in a funnel, having the wrong offer, the wrong copy, hacking, going back to the drawing board again. Did $1,000 that first day, $130,000 in that first 6 weeks, and now we've done over $5 million in the last not even 2 years yet. So if I was gonna run the $5 million business that I'm running right now, 8 years ago, when I didn't even know how to make a bar soap, or I didn't even know how to market myself as the elite organic skincare company, or all the things that we make claims about now and having products that are powerful. If I had tried to do that 8 years ago, I would have lost it all. I would have slipped through my fingers because one of my mentors talked about, there's a really great analogy. It's like so many people are trying to make money and they have this little shot glass that they have to contain all this growth, and everything spills out and you lose it all until you begin to expand from within to hold and maintain what it is that you're trying to contain. So success is something that we actually have to manage and become a vessel for. And if you're not a vessel that can contain it, you'll crack, you'll break, you'll lose it all, and all the good wealth will just spill out on the floor. And so we have to be undergirded and strengthened in the process. So like, don't be afraid to go through that refiner's fire, being purified and considering it pure joy when you're facing the trials and going back to the drawing board and saying, I'm going to make this work and figure this thing out and then do the work is priceless. And you will have the thing that you're working for if you don't give up.
That's awesome. Expanding capacity is so key and vital, and I just love what you just said. All right, there's one that just popped in. Mary, what's the question that you have for Miss Jamie Cross?
Yeah, my question is, like, what was, like, the biggest challenge you faced, or, like, the lowest of the low where, like, you, or even a time where you thought, like, oh, is this time to, like, call it quits and do something else? So, like, what is, like, one thing, the biggest thing you've had to overcome, and, like, how did you overcome that?
So there are two things. One is there were, sometimes something that looks like success is a wolf in sheep's clothing. And I've had, like, knowing that I'm building this $1 billion brand, I've had so many opportunities to go off course, men that would come along and try to steal my business, try to steal my formulations, like come in as friends and mentors and like get in on the inside and then literally try to like have me sign contracts that would sign everything over. And something that I struggled with for a long time was being easily manipulated. And I think for a lot of women, that's sometimes a challenging thing. So one of my friends told me, and she runs like an amazing wealth like tax firm. And she said, one of the hardest things you'll ever do in business, Jamie, is grow a backbone. And so I'm like, I'm sweet now, but you mess with my business, you mess with my family. Like, and I can see 100 miles away those people that aren't the real deal. And so that whole process of just having my eyes open to the truth and then like recognizing sort of like the dark forces in business, because you're going to find it in digital marketing. Like there's a dime a dozen. There's people out there just not delivering and not upholding like truth. And so that was probably one of the biggest things, was growing a backbone and being able to stand up to people who would try to manipulate and rob me. Was probably one of the hardest things I've done over these last 9 years.
Woo! Mary, response?
Well, yeah, it's like something I haven't really thought about, and just to something I probably should keep on my radar.
Absolutely. All right, Cassie, what's your question?
So you talked about the fact that like it took you what, like you said, like 6, 7, 8 years to like actually grow, which would be like more personal development and like mindset stuff. So like, did you read any books? And if so, like what was like your favorite or like most, like the one book maybe that like really opened your eyes to growing and becoming an entrepreneur?
I didn't really start reading the way that I should have started reading until I met Russell, and then I was reading Expert Secrets and .com Secrets. Those two are game changers. Anybody that hasn't read the books, go read them. I'm sure Sean has a link for you for that. How to Win Friends and Influence People, that's basic. And then what's the one, Think and Grow Rich, super powerful. But I spent that first 6.5 years just like hoofing it. I was working so hard, I didn't take the time to really read like I should have, but those probably are the 3 books that have made all the difference for me.
Jamie, I was going to ask in that comment you just made there, I was working probably harder than I should have. If you had to do it over again, obviously there's an element of kind of that rocket ship when you're starting, there's an explosion. and once it's out of atmosphere, like you're still moving forward. There's some inertia going, but like if you had to do it over again, would you pace yourself differently?
Oh, did I say working harder than I should have? I meant working harder and not reading as much as I should have been reading.
I was like, ooh, that caught my attention.
I haven't saved anything I've done, even the horrible stuff, because honestly, like, I am who I am, and I'm doing what I'm doing now because of all the garbage that I went through to get there. So I'm saying, like, don't despise the small beginnings and the crazy stuff that you go through. I mean, avoid it if you can, obviously.
Totally.
Don't be afraid of it. Is one kind of punchline I'm hearing there. And one question I was going to throw out there is, as you've been on this journey, we've heard a little bit of your journey. I heard little quick lines of, well, at this stage we had our first kid, and then at this stage, well, we were up to 3 kids. And I know you were growing a family. So I was curious to hear what that journey was like from the family perspective, from your husband's perspective, and that dynamic. Was it supportive? Was it a struggle at different times? Because a lot of people listening tonight, some of their spouses are supportive of their online business that they're growing, and some are not. So I was curious if you can kind of speak to that a little bit.
Oh, that's a great question. And actually, my husband and I should do a whole, like, podcast on our podcast about this, because that was a whole journey in and of itself. So, you know, when you have one visionary and then you have the other supporting role, it takes a lot of faith for the supportive person to be like, okay, we've just put all of our money for the last 6.5 years into this thing, and I'm just going to keep trusting you. So we would have a lot of conversations of, if it's not this, then what is it? Like, there's a price to pay for power. There's a price to pay for the things that you want in life. So if we're not going to pay it here, then where are we going to pay it? Like when all of our conversations and we would have arguments sometimes, not out of lack of support, but just like things would get really hard sometimes, and we were paying the price. But it was like, if we stop doing this, then we're going to have to start over somewhere else and pay a price there. So those conversations happened. And, you know, a lot of people talk about balance, and I think balance is like this external thing that people are trying to achieve, but balance ultimately is an inside job. And that also is like, when you begin to endure pain as discipline and endure situations and learn from them and grow from them, you become like a tempered, peaceful, like I can go through the storm now in perfect peace, because I'm like, I've been, you know what I'm saying? Like, so Nathan and I we had a couple of, you know, knockdown, drag out, like, when is this going to happen? Like, what are we going to do to get, like, what is the direction we're going as a family?
How, like, at that, though, and I can, like, feel those moments. There was a couple, Chris, that, you know, were, so when you hit those moments, those 2 specific that you were recalling, what was the time period between when that happened and, like, the breakthrough or the breath of fresh air hit? Just out of curiosity.
So when I started, it was probably about 4 years in where we really, like, had it. And it wasn't because, I mean, Nathan and I were also building a nonprofit for another organization. We were working full time in there. And there was a lot of stress in that role as well. A lot of, like, external stress stuff. And so sitting down at that point, we still had another 2.5 years to go before our, like, so think about this, like, we've had farmers markets and we've had breakthroughs as far as, like, our business is breaking even. And then it came to the point was like, we're either going to go all in and you're going to quit your job. He was a wrestling coach and a teacher, which was like his dream job. And we're going to give up all of our potential income with farmers markets, and we're going to jump all into this. Like, I tell you what, I was waking up for those 3 months in the middle of the night in sweat puddles and standing at the grocery store looking at the cheese aisle, like, crying, like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to buy cheese next week for my kids. And I would grab Nathan at 2 o'clock in the morning and be like, Nathan, pray for me. I'm going to lose it. Like, I'm going to hang on to this. And this is an extreme situation. I'm not saying everybody has to go through this, but that's just our story. And thank God that Nathan was so supportive, and he was just like, he saw it for what it was, and he, even though he's not like, hey, I want to start a business too, he understands entrepreneurship, and so we were always aligned in that, like, there's a price to pay, and we're going to do whatever it takes, and he trusted me, so that was always like, I couldn't have done what I've done without him having that.
That's awesome.
That is truly remarkable. All right, when you started your journey, I'm sure there was a lot of friends and family who said, what are you doing? You're crazy for quitting your banking job. How'd you handle that when you went through it? And then also, what would you tell people going through something similar?
So giving up the banking job was like, you know, okay, yeah, she's having a baby. Sure, she's going to want to be home with her kids. It was more like, how long are you guys going to keep building this thing and saying that it's going to be something, and it's like just still like a soap company, you know? So here's what I tell people when they're like, I'm going to quit my job and go all in. Like, well, what have you done so far that would warrant the kind of growth you're expecting? So like for me, I had done 6.5 years of R&D. I knew my market, I knew my products, I knew that I could get results with funnels because I'd already dug my well, you know? So I say, like, I usually tell people sound advice is to keep your job until you've worked and burned the midnight oil and cracked the code on whatever it is that you're building to where you're like making those first few sales that you know you can scale. And even to getting to the point where like what you've built as a side hustle can now replace your income. That's sound advice. Does it always play out that way? No.
Yeah, like what Jim says there, whatever it takes. Chris, do we have any questions in the chat roll?
Yes, Mom Malone came in with a question. She says, do you have a factory type workplace where you make your products? And the second question, are you still active in the production or the product preparation?
Oh, good question. So right after all of our funnel stuff started happening, Nathan and I were going from 5 a.m. to 2 a.m., making product, shipping product, answering phones in our basement, and then funnels happened, or Inner Circle happened, and then I came back, we got a space, and we hired a team, and so now I have a team. I do have a facility that's about 2 miles from my house. We have about 3,000 square feet. We do all of our own shipping, all of our own manufacturing, so that's something that we will always control, but I have a team of 10 in-house people, and then we have about 8 or 9 other like virtual people on our team. But I'm not really actively involved. I'm actively involved in the formulating and the development of the brand and the products, but not in the day-to-day making of it anymore. I work from home in my office mostly.
What and speaking of like manufacturing, formulating, making the product, in that part of your story we haven't hit yet. Where did you start? Because I know you spent roughly a year in research just in formulating. So I think that like kind of hearing where the product came from would be really valuable to hear.
Do you mean like where, like location wise?
More so in like what's actually in the product, ingredients, and you've hit on that before in other content that I've heard, and I think it'd be valuable for people to hear here. Because like you spent, if I remember correctly, you spent a lot of time picking like the right ingredient and recipe because you wanted a certain outcome for people.
Yes. Yeah, going through the formulation. So I believe that what you wouldn't put in your mouth, you shouldn't put on your skin. So people think skin is wallpaper, and it's actually an eliminatory organ. I actually heard that specific quote from Wallace Nelson. He's amazing. Yeah. And anyways, I'm like, yes, I couldn't. That's what I've been trying to say, but you said it way better. So all of our ingredients are pure. I'm a wildcraft or an herbalist, so I go out into the mountains and wildcraft fresh herbs and dry them, infuse them into our stuff. And it's funny, with what we're doing now, we're starting to look at a lot of these other companies that call themselves natural, and I'm like the first ingredient is a synthetic preservative, and I'm like, man, you know, I just partnered with 2 more apiaries and farmers here locally to buy like another 5,000 pounds of beeswax to get ready for next year. And that's part of what we do is like partner with farmers and use all natural ingredients, like really natural. Like you can eat our skincare.
That's amazing, amazing, amazing. All right, so let's talk about burnout for a second. Margaret's wanting to know, where did you find the energy to do this while raising a family? How does burnout play a role in this? When you hit a burnout point, because I know we all have, I know you have, how did you come back from it?
Yeah. Whenever you start to feel like unproductive because you've just been going so hard, there is a rhythm in business, you know. There's ebbs and flows, and in those times of the ebbs, like, it's okay to lean back a little bit. And you know, Abraham Lincoln said if he was going to go out, spend 6 hours chopping a tree, he would spend the first 5 hours sharpening the axe.
Yeah.
And so I spend a lot of time thinking now before I start like commanding or implementing or doing any of that. But burnout is definitely a real thing. And then in that case, just self-care and knowing your limits. And honestly, like, when you have a vision, there's this, I talked about this at FHL, there's an ancient Proverbs that says, when without a vision, the people perish. And so it's, as I was thinking really through that whole idea, I'm like, you know, that means that if with a vision, people come alive. And so a lot of people are struggling to stay motivated because they're not really like, they haven't quite yet tapped into the thing that they're ultimately called to do. And I think we do hone in on like purpose too much. Like, sometimes you've got to practice that and like try different things, and then when you start to recognize, like, man, this is what really gives me energy. And so for me, I could do what I do for the next 40 years and never burn out because I'm doing what I know. I'm doing like what I was born to do.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. I'm going to come to Mary Cotter in just a second, but here's a question that I think is interesting. I was just asked this recently. When it comes to creating language for your tribe, personalized language, you have a lot of it. Did you see any immediate effects, or what happened when you started using like certified manly and some of those other terms that I think are amazing? Like, how did that impact your movement?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's cool that you noticed that. It was just like, it's like when you're writing or reading a book, there's just page upon page upon page. Finally, the story comes together. And so you just layer that kind of stuff in over time. And as we've been building, like, we get more people that are attracted to the brand, or we've gotten a lot of men that have written really funny reviews on our man soap and stuff about, like, I mean, if you read some of our reviews from the guys, it's super hilarious. But that is kind of like the process of crafting your brand is, how can we even, like, I don't use organic, I use the word wildcrafted or pure, like things that will kind of, I don't use the word routine, skincare routine, we talk about ritual, you know. And so we want to use words that are like emotionally evoking, because we're all about seed to skin, skin to soul. So those things take time. Like, that's where you sit down and you like get your journal out and you just start like, you start crafting your message differently. Like, take words that everybody else is saying. Like, when I hear natural product, I'm like, you know, like, so we still say that a little bit, but I'm like, how can we say natural without saying that word? So in your industry, like, what is it that everybody's saying that you could say the same thing but differently in a way that really connects with your audience emotionally? Because that's ultimately what good marketing is. It's stories, it's emotion, it's connection, it's relationship. And so all of that, as you begin to like dive deep with your customers, those things will start to really like come out. And then have fun with it. Like, I was just at the farmer's market, like practicing like certified manly skincare, and try to, you know, you want to be certified manly or smooch factor, you know, like, you know, does your skincare have smooch factor? It's like, oh, I don't think so. What's that?
That's awesome. All right, from one of our progressive Twitch digital geniuses from our Twitch channel just came in a question. They're a little progressive. They want to know, what's the next big thing for Jamie Cross?
Oh, well, okay, so I guess I could kind of let this out of the bag. So we are converting our business into a multi-level marketing business model. There's a whole story there too, but I won't go into all of that. But basically, it is, I feel like this is what we've been building like ramping up for the last almost 9 years. This is the $1 billion business model. So there's that. And then I have been working on the Her Effect for the last 4.5 years. And now, like, there was a lot of bridging between the two, like the messaging and how can I empower women? How can I help them do what I've done? And so now it's like everything's just going to the next level. You know, we've got an aspect in the Her Effect, which is the entrepreneur pillar. Entrepreneur, if you saw my FHL t-shirt, I was wearing the t-shirt. But how can we really activate women in their purpose and give them a vehicle so that they can literally like do what they were born and called to do? And I think this is pretty much across the board, but if you can fix the money problem, so many other problems go away. So when you start like getting rid of the debt and the financial stress, and you start saying, oh my gosh, I can actually go on that trip with my husband, or I can actually take my kids out to do that, or we can buy a new car, or we can go grocery shopping without looking at price tags. Like, that changes everything. And so the Her Effect really is just going to be a movement just designed to activate women and provide community and support and sisterhood.
Awesome answer. It was perfect. Mary Cotter's got another one.
Yeah, so my question is, when it comes to, have you had any products or product lines where you are kind of emotionally attached to them, but they're not performing as well as you'd like? Like, when do you decide to like pivot or retire things? Like, how do you go through that process?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I love it. So we've all probably seen Shark Tank where they're like, your product sucks. You need to stop doing this. You know, and the guy's like, I've been doing it for 10 years and I haven't made any money, but I just know that's right around the corner. So that has happened to me quite a bit. Actually, the reason that I think I was successful quickly with the funnels is because I had already gone through, like, I know what people don't want, because I had spent multiple, many months and months formulating products, bringing them out, getting them all labeled and packaged, and nobody wanted to buy them. And it was usually, for me, it was like 2 weeks, like, okay, we sold 2 of these, nobody wants this stuff, okay, you're out. Like, I'm here to make money, you know? So I think that's, especially with Facebook, if you're running traffic, like, look at your data. And for us, if I can't have, like, we have a product line now of 16 products, but we pretty much sell the majority of those within like thousands of dollars of each other. There's one particular product we were thinking about getting rid of, but then we're like, man, it really is like a loyalty thing for our customers. They love coming back for that particular product. And so even though it might not sell as much, I hope that answers your question. I'm sure there's a scientific answer for that, but you'll know if it's not selling, just get rid of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think a lot of that can just be not only for just products, but like ads and just different things. So I think that's a good, is just to kind of look at the numbers and not be too emotional about it. And I'm a numbers person, so I'm glad I liked your answer.
That's great. Yes, totally.
Chris, I saw you pop one in there.
Yeah, earlier you mentioned, like, I have this different, source of energy, different fire, because I'm in the place that I need to be. And I just so happened to listen to Tom Bilyeu. In fact, there are any fans out there, shameless shout out from him. He mentioned, he's talking about passion, and he's like, is it more so discovered or is it more so created? And I was kind of curious if you could speak to that a little bit in just specifically your experience. Do you feel like, I know and then I'm going, or is it more as you were doing it, you kind of found and created more of a passion? So.
No, I love that. I think it's both. And so I started what I started. Like, for me, I was a farm girl, so the whole idea of like organic skincare was like, oh wow, this is going to be fun. But then there were aspects in business where I'm like, I should not be doing this. Like, wholesale retail stunk because I wasn't connected to the customer. A lot of businesses love working with other, like, B2B, but when you start asking yourself the right questions, it's really easy to answer those questions quickly. Like, like now I'm like, man, why do I struggle so much with Monday morning meetings? Like, I would rather like be on an Excel spreadsheet for 5 hours than like run a Monday morning meeting. And I'm like, oh, that's because I'm not a people manager. I'm a visionary, so I need to hire a manager to come in and manage meetings. And I'll like show up to these meetings and be there as a support, like, you know, like just figuring out who you are in the roles that you're playing in your company. But I think it's a both kind of thing. And especially if you're getting results, like you can make a lot of money and be like, I'm passionate about this because it sets my family free. And maybe at some point I'll do something different, but this is just a really practical passion of mine.
That's awesome. Just got one in from our YouTube watchers asking, Jamie, what is the, if you had to go back and sum up everything that you've done so far, if there was one big learning lesson you could take away, what would that be?
Being faithful with the little things.
Wow. Okay, now I'm going to have to ask you to dive in a little bit deeper on that. What does that mean?
Yeah, if you're faithful with the small things, you can be entrusted with much. And so for any of us, like nobody wants to stay in mediocrity. Nobody wants to stay small. But oftentimes people are trying to surpass the small beginnings or the minor lessons in life, trying to go big, when really it's like, if you can be faithful right here, do it with excellence at whatever stage you're at, gain mastery and excellence, and like promotion will happen. It's just a natural byproduct. It's like you put a seed into the ground. If you water it and you fertilize it, it will grow and it will eventually bear fruit. So like a vision is like a seed, and our job is to be faithful with that seed and to foster it. And as we do that and we're faithful with it, it will grow as just a natural byproduct of like the universe's, you know, like sowing and reaping. You know what I'm saying? So everything comes down to being faithful.
Okay, so I want to talk about blind faith. Maybe can you throw in like a spin on like how, like I know the bamboo theory and some other things are really interesting around blind faith, but can you talk about blind faith?
Can you give me the context of what you mean by
Yeah,
blind
so
faith?
you said, of course, so you said being faithful in the little things. When you first get started and you don't know any of the little things, like where does the faith come from that?
Oh, good question. So you know, anybody can look and say, well, everybody needs a bar of soap. I know this is going to be big. If I can be faithful with it, create a really great marketing thing around it, sell it. I knew that I could be a salesperson. I was, even in my formulations, it was like, okay, here is like a general natural bar of soap, and everybody's telling me like natural products don't work. And that was a challenge for me because I was like, well, game on, then I'm going to make it work. And so like if you order our soap, there's like 500% more essential oil content in one bar than any other bar out there. So our stuff works. And so like, I don't think that there's really such I think when it comes to business, like blind faith when you're falling in love, that's great. But when you're in business, like find a market and find a product that people want to buy and go and satisfy that need. Like that's why we're in business, is to meet needs. And so people often start with the passion thing, and I think that's worked for some people. But if you're not like business savvy and you're starting with passion, you're like, well, I just love doing this, but then you didn't even check to see if it's a demand in the marketplace, then you're like kind of not really a business person. You're just a hobbyist. You know, you're a practitioner. And so I think you got to be smart and really just like practical about business. And there's really no such thing as blind faith. Now with all the data out there, you just start doing what you know is the right thing and then like make it work.
Well, I think that's awesome. We got one from Diana. With your product creation, did you ever consider environmental sustainability, example, packaging, shipping? And do you have any plans to improve on that?
Yeah, you're like the 100th person in the last month to ask me that. So we are currently working on sustainability and like revamping all of our packaging. And I've heard that there's actually a sugarcane twist-up tube for like lotion products that are just, but I'm like, our stuff goes in the shower, so is it going to melt? I don't know, but yes, we are working on that.
Okay, so what I want to do now is I've got 2 last questions. If anyone else has any other questions, pop them in the chat roll. I'm going to ask you the first one now. Then I want to go to the panelists and just get the biggest takeaway. And then I'm going to ask you the last question. So the second to last question is this. People want to follow you. You're amazing. You're awesome. You're on stage at one of the biggest stages ever, Funnel Hacking Live this February, which is amazing to watch you speak. You crushed it, by the way. And I want to know, where can people follow you?
At jamiecross.com, JAIMECROSSDOTCOM. That's probably the best place.
And so that's on Instagram?
Yes, because all of my other stuff is on there.
Okay, and then you mentioned a podcast as well. So talk about, what's your podcast called?
The Her Effect Podcast.
The Her Effect Podcast, and you've got this one, but it's at Jamie Cross DOTCOM, right? That's the Instagram handle?
It's jamiecross.com, all spelled out. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Okay, so I wanted to make sure we got MIG soap in there, and so Jamie Cross
.com right there.
No.
Like, you're just saying your website, right?
No. It was right. It was right there. Jamie Cross DOT. No. Don't put the dot in. Just spell DOT.
Spell out dot.
There it is. Right below. First one. Boom.
Spell out. Okay. So I'm assuming I wasn't going to be the only one that messed it up. So, yeah.
I have a baby account right now. I've got 403 followers, so we're just starting this bad boy here.
Wow. Chris could
go there, and then I did pull up Becoming Her, but you're saying...
Yeah. We're changing it to the Her Effect, but right now you can find it under Becoming Her.
Okay, cool. So it looks like this. And while you're here, like, I am subscribed, but make sure you guys, just if you click right here, there's ratings and review. Definitely leave a review of your experience there. And download all the episodes too, because downloads really, really help. So, as you guys know.
Yes.
Cool, guys. Thank you for that.
All right, let's go to the panel. I'm going to start with Mary Cotter. What's your biggest takeaway from Jamie's greatness?
I just love how you're just your focus on being smart about, I guess, being business savvy and not just kind of doing things off of a whim. I feel like you're very calculated about the things that you do, and just the journey that you've been through, and all the experience that you've had has kind of got you to that place. And so I think the way you do business is really smart. And so I think, just being emphasis on listening to your data and just trial and error and just believing in what you do, but not just doing things based on passion and not doing any research, but being actually smart about it. So I love that, and I just love your mission and everything. So
thank you.
Super awesome. In the chat roll right now, guys, what's your biggest takeaway from Jamie? I'm going to come over to Cassie now. Cassie, what's your takeaway from Jamie?
So even though I've been in this, doing my own business for a year and a half, I'm definitely still a baby in this. I still have a long ways to go. But I loved it. And Sean hit on this a little bit too with becoming the person you need to be for your business, in the growing part. And I tend to be one of those people, I'm a really fast learner, but learning how to work online has definitely been a challenge for me, which I love, but I'm not getting the results as fast as I want. So it's good to hear that, for me to keep going through all of basically the failures that I'm going through, it's making me better, because in the long run, I'll be able to run my business and grow it and monetize it and do everything I want to do and accomplish over time. So that was the biggest thing I think that hit for me.
I love it. My favorite thing that she said tonight, there's really kind of 2 of them. The one that resonated with me the most is have faith in the little things and then master those little things. My dad once upon a told me, one of my biggest heroes on earth, he said to me, keep it simple, stupid, right? That whole analogy of KISS, get really good at the small things first, and everything will be built on top of that. And so for you to echo that tonight, I think it was just epic. Thank you for that, Jamie. Let's go to Chris. What is your biggest takeaway?
Yeah, and thank you for Jamie for being so open and sharing family stuff and just kind of going in every direction with us. It was we enjoyed it. The big takeaway for me is it starts with one of my biggest frustrations, which has been like I have this vision of who I was like meant to be and who I'm becoming, but the results and the outcome of what that is so far from that, and that it's unmet expectation, and it creates frustration 100% of the time. And so listening to you talk through your stepping stones that you went through is like, no, all of that is part of expanding your capacity, building some of your strength, and that's a part of the bigger and longer journey that you're on, which brings some peace in the present for me, because it kind of resets that expectation, allows me to appreciate what I've learned and what I've built more so far. Maybe a little deep, but hopefully some of that made sense, and that's what was going through me.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, Jamie, I'm going to ask you, what was the most innovative question that came to you, or your biggest takeaway from tonight?
Oh man, innovative question was probably, if you could sum it all up.
Yeah. Nice.
Probably it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to ask this last question, and we're going to move into the VIP after party for all of our VIPs. Here it is. Jamie, what's the impact you want to make in the world?
Now you might going to make me cry again. Okay, so I want to see millions of women packed in a stadium getting like totally activated in their purpose and being able to walk away from something that changes their life, and then being able to give them the tools and the community they need to walk out their life with mentorship and sisterhood, so that they can truly like leave. I want to leave a legacy that leaves legacies. Millions and millions and millions of people just like couldn't have done it without her effect,
I love it. Becoming a brand name and helping millions and millions and millions of women. That's it. The call to arms, guys, if you heard that first here on Train or Die. Yes, so thank you so much. And usually at the end of our show, we always have like a poll, a vote. You would obviously win if we were voting tonight. So typically when we do that, before we move into our VIP session, I just want you to come out, maybe just share a couple of good words to kind of close the show down before we move into the VIP after party.
Yeah. I think tuning in is like so key to success. So we often think the hustle is where it's at, but oftentimes it's taking the time every single morning and getting quiet and like tuning into the answers that are oftentimes right inside of you. And so if there's any area that there hasn't been breakthrough, take some time to rest, grab your journal. I like to listen to the rain on YouTube, like sounds of thunder and ocean, and answers will come. So just get quiet.
That's it. Get quiet, go inside, do it right. Jamie, I know there's a lot of people that'd be like, oh my God, your products are incredible. And I believe you have a nice offer for everybody here. So can you just tell us, like, how does that work? Where do they go to get that? What's the thing?
Yes. So you can go to migsoap.com and everybody gets 15% off the whole site. And
Chris, you want to do a screen share, Chris?
Yep, working. Where'd you guys go?
I'm here. We're here.
Can you guys hear me still?
Yeah, absolutely.
I have way too many windows open. Yes, let's do a screen share real quick. There we go. And migsoap.com. And what's the is there a code or what is it, Jamie?
Yes, MIG15.
MIG15. There it is. So you can
MIG15.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So we can go definitely check this out. Pick out the perfect product that you guys need. I think the follow-up, see, like right here is Man Face, Bing, Man Soap hasn't made it in our household yet, so might go get some MIG15 up on that.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for doing that. That's
Of course.
so cool.
Of course. You're live all over the world. That's what we do. Anyways, Jamie, thank you so much. And again, it was wonderful to have you here for our show. We're so excited for our VIP members. We're going to jump into our VIP link now. But guys, that's going to end it for episode 153 of Train or Die. And we'll see you same time, same channel, same place next week. We'll talk to you guys later. Have a great night.